Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on, like where you are in the world. This is Gloria White coming to you from Utah, USA. Wherever you are in this world, God bless you. We are in the King James Version of the Holy Bible, the 1611 edition. So, what we're looking at is we are in Esdras 2. And I read chapters 1 through 4 yesterday. Today we will be starting in chapter 5, but I want to show you something. Look, right here it says for 1 Esdras. So I thought, oh, it switched over from 1 to 2. But then I thought, no. So I went back and I looked, and it's just a typo. So we really are in Esdras 2 Esdras. And chapter 5 of 2 Esdras. Now again, this continues, and this is Esdras, and he is speaking with the Lord God, and he is also speaking to the angel Uriah. Now, in chapter 5. And some of these words are misspelled. Some of them have the Old English spelling. Some are actually words that have been pushed together like they were a typo on an old typing machine that wasn't corrected. So I will, as we go along, just so that if you get this Bible, the 1611 edition, and you look at the words and you think, oh my goodness, what in the world? I can't even read this. I am going to, as we go along, stop and spell words so that you can understand and kind of in your mind get the whole spelling and what that word really is. So I'm hoping others will get this version of the Bible and read it for themselves. There's an awful lot of information in here, and this is actually the Apocrypha that is included in this version of the Bible. So, and I can see where some of this that was removed, I can see why. Some of it I think has to do with the scribes. Some is Constantine, but the one that's behind all of it, I think, is Satan, Lucifer. He didn't intend for the people to know this information from God to help us understand how serious our salvation is and how God is going to judge us, and in a way that we can't just say that we're Christians. We need to be working towards being perfect in God's eyes. It's not possible for us to be perfect, as it says in the New Testament, where it says, with men, what's impossible is not impossible for God or with God. So just keep that in mind as you're going through your day, and just work really hard at keeping the commandments and what Christ taught us, and being loving and good to one another. So after this video, I'm actually going to record Galatians 5:16 through 26, which tells us how to walk in the Spirit and how not to. So we're moving towards the end day, and we need to be keenly aware of where we stand in salvation's gate according to God's word. And it said in the end times, knowledge would be increased. Well, more and more people are finding out about this and the lost books and what they say and God's words. So to me, this is knowledge increase, and it has absolutely nothing to do with technology. So without any further ado, chapter 5 in 2 Esdras. The signs of the times to come. He asketh why God, choosing but one people, did cast them off. He is taught that God's judgments are unsearchable, and that God doeth not all at once. Nevertheless, and nevertheless is spelled Neuerthes. Nevertheless, as concerning the tokens, behold, the days shall come, that they which dwell upon the earth shall be taken in a great number, and the way of truth shall be hidden, and the land shall be barren of faith. Many will fall away, wax cold. But iniquity shall be increased, and shall be is one word, Shalbe. And iniquity shall be increased above that which now thou seest, or that thou hast heard long ago. And the land that thou seest now to have root shall thou see wasted suddenly. And if the Most High grant thee to live, thou shalt see after the third trumpet, that the sun shall suddenly shine again in the night, and the moon thrice in the day, and blood shall drop out of wood, and the stone shall give his voice, and the people shall be troubled. And even he shall rule, whom they looked not for that dwell upon the earth, and the fowls shall take their flight away together. And the Sodomish sea shall cast out fish, and make a noise in the night, which many have not known, but they shall all hear the voice thereof. There shall be a confusion also in many places, and the fire shall be sent out again, and the wild beasts shall change their places, and menstruous women shall bring forth monsters, and salt waters shall be found in the sweet, and all friends shall destroy one another, and then shall it hide itself, and here's a typo, WIT. Then shall it hide itself, and understanding withdraw itself into his secret chamber, and shall be sought of many, and yet not be found. There'll be a famine in the end times, not only for bread, but also for the word of God. And shall be sought of many, and yet not be found. Then shall uprightness and incontinence be multiplied upon the earth. One land also shall ask another, and say, Is righteousness that maketh a man righteous gone through thee? And it shall say, No. At the same time men shall hope, but nothing obtain. They shall labor, but their ways shall not prosper. To show thee such tokens I have leave. And if thou wilt pray again, and weep as now, and fast 7 days, thou shalt hear yet greater things. Now this is the angel Uriel, and I thought yesterday it was Gabriel, but it's Uriel. I couldn't figure out the Vriel, and I kept thinking, Gabriel is the angel that came and talked to Mary. Gabriel is the angel that talked to Zechariah. So this must be Gabriel, Gabriel also went and talked to Daniel. So I was thinking, how can I make this V? And it's supposed to be a U. So that's just another thing here in the King James 1611 version, is that V's are in the place of U's, the letters. So now it's saying, the angel is saying that if you go and fast 7 days, then I'll come back and talk to you again. And thou shalt hear yet greater things. Then I awaked, and an extreme fearfulness went through all my body, and my mind was troubled, so that it fainted. So the angel that was to come talk with me held me, comforted me, and set me upon my feet. And in the second night it came to pass that Salathiel, the captain of the people, came unto me, saying, Where hast thou been? And why is thy countenance so heavy? Knowest thou not that Israel is committed unto thee in the land of their captivity? And captivity is Captitie. Don't let this spelling discourage you from reading the Word of God from this book. It's more true than any I have read anywhere. Verse 18. Up then, and eat bread, and forsake us not as the shepherd that leadeth his flock in the hands of cruel wolves. Then said I unto him, Go thy way from me, and come not nigh me. And he heard what I said, and went from me. And so I fasted 7 days, mourning and weeping, like as Uriel the angel commanded me. And Uriel is Vriel. And after 7 days, so it was that the thoughts of my heart were very grievous unto me again, and my soul recovered the spirit of understanding. And I began to talk with the Most High again, and said, O Lord, that beareth rule over every wood of the earth, and of all the trees thereof, thou hast chosen thee one only vine, and only is Onely. And all the lands of the whole world, thou hast chosen thee one pit, and of all the flowers thereof one lily. And of all the depths of the sea thou hast filled thee one river. And of all the builded cities thou hast hallowed Zion unto thyself. And of all the fowls that are creatures, and of all the fowls, and it's Foules, so it should be Fowls. So it's Foules that are created. Thou hast named thee one dove. And of all the cattle, Cattel, that are made, thou hast provided thee one sheep. And among all of the multitude of peoples, and among all the multitudes of people, thou hast gotten thee one people, and unto this people whom thou lovest, thou gavest a law that is approved of all. And now, O Lord, why hast thou given this people over unto many? And upon the one root thou hast prepared others. And why hast thou scattered thy only one people among many? And they which did gainsay thy promises, and beloved not thy covenants, have trodden them down. And covenants is Couenants. Verse 30. If thou didst so much hate thy people, yet shouldest thou punish them with thine own hands. Now when I had spoken these words, the angel that came to me the night before was sent unto me, and said unto me, Hear me, and I will instruct thee. Hearken to the thing that I say, and I shall tell thee more. And I said, Speak on, my Lord. Then said he unto me, Thou art sore troubled in mind for Israel's sake. Lovest thou that people better than he that made them? And I said, No, Lord, but a very grief have I spoken. Grief is Griefe. Have I spoken. For my reins or mind pain me every hour, while I labor to comprehend the way of the Most High, and to seek out part of his judgment. And he said unto me, Thou kennest not. And I said, Wherefore, Lord? Whereunto was I born then? And why was not my mother's womb then my grave, that I might not have seen the travail of Jacob? And travail is Trauell. Jacob is Iacob. And the wearisome toil, Toyle, of the stock of Israel. And he said unto me, Number me the things that are not yet come. Gather me together the drops that are scattered abroad. Make me the flowers green again that are withered. Open me the places that are closed, and bring me forth the winds that in them are shut up. Show me the image of the voice, and then I will declare to thee the thing that thou laborest to know. And I said, O Lord, that bearest rule, who may know these things, but he that hath not his dwelling with men? As for me, I am unwise. How may I then speak of these things whereof thou askest me? Then said he unto me, Like as thou canst do none of these things that I have spoken of, even so canst thou not find out my judgment, or in the end of the love that I have promised unto my people. And I said, Behold, O Lord, yet art thou nigh unto them that be reserved till the end. And what shall they do that have been before me? Are we that be now? Are they that shall come after us? And he said unto me, I will liken my judgment unto a ring, like as there is no slackness of the last, even so there is no swiftness of the first. So I answered and said, Couldst thou not make those that have been made, and be now, and that are for to come at once, that thou mightest show thy judgment the sooner? He said, Why can't everybody be born at the same time? Then answered he me and said, The creature may not hast above the Maker, neither may the world hold them at once that shall be created herein. And shall be is CHALBE, and therein is THERIN. And I said, As thou hast said unto thy servant, that thou which givest life to all, hast given life at once to the creature that thou hast created, and the creature bare it, even so it might now also bear them that now be present at once. And he said unto me, Ask the womb of a woman, and say unto her, If thou bringest forth children, why doest thou it not together, but one after another? Pray her therefore to bring forth 10 children at once. And I said, She cannot, but must do it by distance of time. Then said he unto me, Even so have I given the womb of the earth to those that be sown in it in their times. So people are born at certain times into the earth. For like as a young child may not bring forth the things that belong to the aged, even so have I disposed the world which I created. And I asked and said, Seeing thou hast now given me the way, I will proceed to speak before thee. For our mother, of whom thou hast told me that she is young, draweth nigh unto age? He answered me and said, Ask a woman that beareth children, and she shall tell thee. Say unto her, Wherefore are not thou they whom thou hast now brought forth, like those that were before, but less of stature, like they're not as big? And she shall answer thee, They shall be born in the strength of youth, are of one fashion, and they that are born in the time of age, when the womb faileth, are otherwise. Consider thou therefore also how that ye are less of stature than those that were before you. And so are they that come after you less than ye, as the creatures which now begin to be old, and have passed over the strength of youth. Then said I, Lord, I beseech thee, if I have found favor in thy sight, show thy servant by whom thou visiteth thy creature. Chapter 6. God's purpose is eternal. The next world shall follow this immediately. What shall fall out at the last? He is promised more knowledge, and reckoned up the works of the creation, and complaineth that they have no part in the world for whom it was made. And he said unto me, so this little part that I just read is kind of like a little breakout of different verses that are in this chapter. So if you're like going through and you're trying to remember where something was, you can just look at each of the chapter. If you can see here, right here in this chapter, at the beginning, how it's breaking out the different verses that are within this chapter. It's sort of like a little summary of what's in the chapter. And he said unto me, In the beginning, when the earth was made, before the borders of the world stood, or ever the winds blew, before it thundered and lightened, or ever the foundations of paradise were laid, before the fair flowers were seen, or ever the movable powers were established, before ye innumerable multitude of angels were gathered together, and over the heights of the air were lifted up, before the measures of the firmament were named, or ever the chimneys in Zion were hot, and ere the present years were sought out, and or ever the inventions of them that now sin were turned. Sin is SINNE. Before they were sealed, that have gathered faith for a treasure. Then did I consider these things, and they all were made through me alone, and through none other. By me, and MEE, also they shall be ended, and by none other. Then answered I and said, What shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, then Jacob and Esau were born of him. Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. The hand of man is betwixt the heel and the hand. Other question, Esdras, ask thou not. I answered then and said, O Lord, that beareth rule, if I have found favor in thy sight, I beseech thee, show thy servant the end of thy tokens, whereof thou showest me part the last night. So he answered and said unto me, Stand up upon thy feet, and hear a mighty sounding voice, and voice is VOYCE. And it shall be as it were a great motion, but the place where thou standest shall not be moved. And therefore when it speaketh, be not afraid, for the word is of the end, and the foundation of the earth is understood. And why? Because the speech of these things trembleth and is moved, for it knoweth that the end of these things must be changed. And it happened that when I had heard it, I stood up upon my feet and hearkened, and behold, there was a voice that spake, and the sound of it was like the sound of many waters. And it said, Behold, the days come that I will begin to draw nigh, and to visit them that dwell upon the earth, and will begin to make inquisition of them, what they may be that have hurt unjustly with their unrighteousness, and when the affliction of Zion shall be fulfilled. And when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished, then will I show these tokens. The book shall be opened before the firmament, and they shall see all together. And the children of a year old, and year is YEERE, of a year old shall speak with their voices. The women with child shall bring forth untimely children of 3 or 4 months old, and they shall live and be raised up. And suddenly shall the swollen places appear unsown. And suddenly shall the sown, or places where they sow seeds, places appear unsown. So no seed sown. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. And the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. At that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountains shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. Whosoever remaineth from all these that I have told thee shall escape, and see my salvation, and the ends of your world. And the men that are received shall see it, and have not tasted death from their birth. And the heart of the inhabitants shall be changed, and turned into another meaning. For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. For as faith it shall flourish, corruption shall be overcome, and the truth, which hath been so long without fruit, shall be declared. And when he talked with me, behold, I looked by little and little upon him before whom I stood. And these words said he unto me, I am come to show thee the time of the night to come. If thou wilt pray yet more, and fast 7 days again, I shall tell thee greater things by day than I have heard. For thy voice is heard before the Most High. For the Mighty has seen thy righteous dealing. He hath seen also thy chastisement, which should be chastisement, CHASTITIE, which thou hast had ever since thy youth. And therefore hath he sent me to show thee all these things, and to say unto thee, Be of good comfort, and fear not, and hasten not with the times that are past, to think vain things, that thou mayest not hasten from the latter times. And it came to pass after this that I wept again, and fasted 7 days in like manner, that I might fulfill the 3 weeks which he told me. And in the 8th night was my heart vexed within me again, and I began to speak before the Most High. For my spirit was greatly set on fire, and my soul was in distress. And I said, O Lord, thou speakest from the beginning of the creation, even the first day, and saidest thus, Let heaven and earth be made. And thy word was a perfect work. And then was the spirit, and darkness, and silence were, on every side. The sound of man's voice was not yet formed. Then commandest thou a fair light to come forth of thy treasures, that thy work might appear. Upon the 2nd day thou madest the spirit of the firmament, and commandeth it to part asunder, and to make a division betwixt the waters, the one part might go up, and the other remain beneath. Upon the 3rd day didst thou didst command that the waters should be gathered in the 7th part of the earth. 6 parts hast thou dried up, and kept them, to the intent that of these some being planted of God and tilled might serve thee. For as soon as thy word went forth, the work was made. For immediately there was great and innumerable fruit, and many and divers pleasures for the taste, and flowers of unchangeable color, and odors of wonderful smell. And this was done the 3rd day. Upon the 4th day thou commandest that the sun should shine, and the moon give her light, and the stars should be in order, and gavest them a charge to do service unto man that was to be made. Upon the 5th day thou sayest unto the 7th part, where the waters were gathered, that it should bring forth living creatures, fowls and fishes, and so it came to pass. For the dumb water, and without life, brought forth living things at the commandment of God, that all people might praise thy wondrous works. Then didst thou order 2 living creatures, ordain, O-R-D, O-R, wait a minute, O-R-D-E-I-N-E, ordain 2 living creatures, the one called Enoch, or Behemoth, and the other Leviathan, and didst separate the one from the other, for the 7th part, namely where the water was gathered together, might not hold them both. Unto Enoch thou gavest 1 part which was dried up the 3rd day, that he should dwell in the same part, wherein are 1,000 hills. But unto Leviathan thou gatherest the 7th part, namely the moist, and hast kept him to be devoured of whom thou wilt, and when. Upon the 6th day thou gavest commandment unto the earth, that before thee it should bring forth beast, cattle, cattle, and creeping things. And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. As for the other people, which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and hast likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. vessel, Vessell. And now, O Lord, behold, these heathen, which have ever been reputed as nothing, have begun to be lords over us, and to devour us. But we, thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thy only begotten, and thy fervent lover, are given into their hands. If the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world? How long shall this endure? And chapter 7, this is the little part that's talking about what's in this chapter. The way is narrow. When it was made narrow, all shall die and rise again. Christ shall sit in judgment. God hath not made paradise in vain, and is merciful. Excuse me 1 second. And when I had made an end of speaking these words, there was sent unto me the angel which had been sent unto me the nights afore. And he said unto me, Up, Esdras, and hear the words that I am come to tell thee. And I said, Speak on, my God. Then said he unto me, The sea is set in a wide place, that it might be deep and great. But put the entrance where narrow, were narrow, and like a river, Riuer. Who then could go into the sea to look upon it and to rule it? If he went not through the narrow, how could he come into the broad? There is also another thing. A city is builded and set upon a broad field, and is full of all good things. The entrance thereof is narrow, and is set in a dangerous place to fall, like as if there were a fire on the right hand, and on the left a deep water, and only one path between them both, even between the fire and the water, so small that there could but one man go there at once. The path is narrow, and the gate is straight. This is what he's saying. The path is narrow. If this city now were given unto a man for an inheritance, if he never shall pass the danger set before it, how shall he receive his inheritance? In other words, the danger that we go through in this world, through this little narrow place to get into heaven. So if this city now were given unto a man for an inheritance, if he never shall pass the danger set before it, how shall he receive this inheritance? And I said, It is so, Lord. Then said he unto me, Even so also is Israel's portion. Because for their sakes I made the world, and when Adam transgressed my statutes, then was decreed that now is done. Then were the entrances of this world made narrow, full of sorrow and travail. Travail, Trauaile. They are but few and evil, Euill, full of perils and very painful. For the entrances of the elder world were wide and sure, and brought immortal fruit. If then they that live labor not to enter these straight and vain things, they can never receive those that are laid up for them. Now therefore, why disquietest thou thyself, seeing thou art but a corruptible man? And why art thou moved, whereas thou art but mortal? Why hast thou not considered in thy mind this thing is to come, rather than that which is present? Then answered I and said, O Lord, thou bearest rule. Thou hast ordained in thy law that the righteous should inherit these things, but that the ungodly should perish. Nevertheless, the righteous shall suffer strait things, and hope for wide. For they that have done wickedly have suffered the strait things, and yet shall not see the wide. And he said unto me, There is no judge above God, and none that hath understanding above the highest. For there be many that perish in this life, because they despise the law of God that is set before them. For God hath given straight commandment to such as came, that what they should do to live, even as they came, and what they should observe to avoid punishment. Nevertheless, they were not obedient unto him, but spake against him, and imagined vain things, and deceived themselves by their wicked deeds, and saith of the Most High, He is not, and knew not his ways. But his law have they despised, and denied his covenants. In his covenants, in his statutes, have they not been faithful, and have not performed his works? And wherefore Esdras, for the empty are empty things, and for the full are the full things. Behold, the time shall come that these tokens which I have told thee shall come to pass, and the bride shall appear, and she coming forth shall be seen, that now is withdrawn from the earth. And whosoever is delivered from the foresaid evils shall see my wonders. For my Son Jesus shall be revealed with those that be with him, and they that remain shall rejoice within 400 years. And years is Yeeres. Rejoice is Reioyce. Verse 29. After these years shall my Son Christ die, and all men that have life. And the world shall be turned into the old silence 7 days, like as in the former judgments, so that no man shall remain. And after 7 days the world that awaketh not shall be raised up, and that shall die, that is corrupt. And the earth shall restore those that are asleep in her, and so shall the dust that those that dwell in silence, and the secret places shall deliver those souls that were committed unto them. And the Most High shall appear upon the seat of judgment, and misery shall pass away, and the long suffering shall have an end. But judgment only shall remain. Truth shall stand, and faith shall wax strong. And the work shall follow, and the reward shall be showed, and the good deeds shall be of force, and wicked deeds shall bear no rule. Then said I, Abraham prayed for the Sodomites, and Moses for the fathers that sinned in the wilderness, and Jesus after him for Israel in the time of Ashan, and Samuel and David for the destruction, and Solomon for them that should come to the sanctuary, and Elias for those that received rain, and for the dead that he might live. And Ezekias for the people in the time of Sennacherib, Sennacherib, and many for many. So, how does he, I have to wonder, how does Esdras know about all these things? You know, how does he know about Jesus? How, you know, um, before Jesus is even born, he's talking about Jesus. Even so now, seeing corruption is grown up and wickedness increased, the righteous have prayed for the ungodly. Wherefore shall it not be so now also? He answered me and said, This present life is not the end where much glory doth abide. Therefore have they prayed for the weak. But the day of doom shall be the end of this time, and the beginning of the immortality for to come, wherein corruption is past. Intemperance is at an end, and this is Intemperancie, is at an end. Infidelity is cut off. Righteousness is growing, and truth is sprung up. Then shall no man be able to save him that is destroyed, nor to oppress him that hath gotten the victory. I answered then and said, This is my first and last saying, that it had been better not to have given the earth unto Adam, or else when it was given to him, to have restrained him from sinning. For what profit is it for men now in this present time to live in heaviness, and after death to look for punishment? O thou Adam, what hast thou done? For though it was thou that sinnest, thou art not fallen alone, but we all that come of thee. For what profit is it unto us if there be promised us an immortal time, whereas we have done the works that bring death? And that there is promised us an everlasting hope, whereas ourselves, being most wicked, are made vain? And that there are laid up for us dwellings of health and safety, whereas we have lived wickedly? And that the glory of the Most High is kept to defend them which have led a wary life, whereas we have walked in the most wicked ways of all? And that there should be shown a paradise whose fruit endureth forever, wherein is security and medicine, with we shall not enter into it. And with here is a misspelling. It's SITH. Excuse me. Verse 54. For we have walked in unpleasant places, and that the faces of them which have used abstinence shall shine above the stars, whereas our faces shall be blacker than darkness. For while we lived and committed iniquity, we considered not that we should begin to suffer for it after death. Then answered he me and said, This is the condition of the battle. Battle is, Battel, which man that is born upon the earth shall fight, that if he be overcome, he shall suffer as thou hast said. But if he get the victory, he shall receive the thing that I say. For this is the life whereof Moses spake unto the people while he lived, saying, Choose thee life that thou mayest live. Nevertheless, they believed not him, nor yet the prophets after him, no, nor me which have spoken unto them. that there should not be such heaviness in their destruction, as shall be joy over them that are persuaded to salvation. I answered then and said, I know, Lord, that the Most High, and high is Hie, is called merciful, in that he hath mercy upon them which are not yet come into the world, and upon those also that turn to his law, and that he is patient and long suffereth those that have sinned as his creatures, and that he is bountiful, for he is ready to give where it needeth, and that is of great mercy, for he multiplieth more and more mercies to them that are present, and that are past, and also to them which are to come. For if he shall not multiply his mercies, the world would not continue with them that inherit therein. For he pardoneth. For if he did not so, of his goodness, that they which have committed iniquities might be eased of them, the 10,000 part of men should not remain living. And being judge, if he should not forgive them that are cured with his word, and put out the multitude of contentions, there should be very few left, peradventure, in an innumerable multitude. And we're going to stop there because we're at almost an hour, but we'll be in chapter 8 the next time I read. So, as Jesus said, keep the commandments. Love thy God with all thy heart, mind, and strength, and love one another as I have loved thee, and as you should do unto others as you'd have them to do unto you. Care for the widows and orphans, the poor and the needy, visit the sick, and those in prison. And so he is not joking around. Anybody that thinks, oh, well, I, accepted Christ, and oh, I've, got salvation, and I've been baptized, and I'm good to go. Sin will still take you to hell if you're not careful. That's why you need to seek forgiveness often, and try your best to follow what he taught us and to walk in his ways, so that you can be in the group that has the victory. And as always, I love you.